Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razak at CMTrading. Today is February 10, 2023, and today is Friday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, Bitcoin, after mentioning a couple of days that it's been looking weak, breaks lower below 23K. Now first, looking at the major economic events of today. So starting out at 3:30 South African time out of Canada, we have an unemployment change number coming out, and then at 5 p.m. South African time, out of the United States, University of Michigan consumer confidence number. That's a very important number to keep an eye out. Now looking at the various markets, starting out with the Forex symbols, we're looking at the major pairs tapering off after the US dollar gain. Now looking at the indices, the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ both continue to sell lower yesterday. Now looking at commodities, both gold and oil unchanged after settling in the different directions that they went. Now looking at stocks, Tesla, still strong as the market sold off yesterday, showing some relative strength. And lastly, Bitcoin selling off. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here we go. We're going to start with the Euro USD just because it's the most popular one. Okay, so we've consolidated here over the past couple of days after selling off from that 110 level to 107-ish level. So it's pretty much just consolidating. I don't want to read too much into it. I don't think it's going to move in massive kind of ways today, just because it's still digesting some of the news earlier in the week. If we look at the other major pairs, they're all doing the same thing. I do want to jump into the Canadian dollar because that's going to be kind of interesting today. Unemployment numbers coming out. We are at the top of the range here, 134.43. After a seesaw of a ride, okay? It's been trading in a range, and that's fine. That's all good that it's trading in a range, and that's at the top of the range, and that's okay. So just be aware, if it does break above 134.60-ish level, okay, and it does get some volume, we could see it push up higher and then have a breakout. But if it doesn't, it's going lower. It's just trading exactly like that. It's trading in a range. Now, if we jump into commodities, gold settling after really just selling off over the past couple of days also. Major sell-off to 1860 after 1950, but it's consolidating, okay? It's really just trading in this range. Didn't go lower. I'm testing that low of 1860-ish level, but again, didn't go lower. So keep that in mind as we're looking at that today. But if it does break, it continue breaking to 1800. So it's at that level where it should be a support level. So, but again, if it does break, it'll break. Now looking at crude oil, we gained the other day and we're just settling at that top of the range of $77. We're not at the top range, which is $82. Somewhere in the middle between $72 and $82. But with that said, okay, this is where I would, if you did go long at 72 and you listened to us, good for you. But if you didn't, don't get into this at this stage, okay? This is really just chasing it up at this area. Now, jumping into the U.S. markets, they did sell off, as you can see here, from 34,000-ish level over the past few days, okay, to 33,700, a nice 700-point move, and it's just zigzagging, okay? It's just trading in a range. It's all good, but as long as we keep an eye on this, because at one point it's going to break out, okay? I mean, going into this year in January, into February, we've been trading in an upper and lower range and then in a minor range. Now jumping into the NASDAQ, also selling off yesterday to 12,416 after not hitting 13,000 but 12,700, a 300-point move on the downside as well. Now looking at the individual stocks, Tesla is still relatively strong. You can't see this but on a day-to-day basis. Look at a 15-minute chart and it looks like it sold off at the end of the day, and it did, but it did gain on the day, okay? If we look at a 4-hour chart, you see that it's still at the top of its range here at 207 after gaining nicely the past 2 weeks. It's gained over 30% over the past 2 weeks. So if it takes a little bit of a breather here, it's completely understood. When we look at the other major stocks, they did sell off, okay? If we look at Microsoft, they sold off at this area. Apple sold off at this area after hitting almost a breakout position. So it's digesting the market. Okay, the markets are not going higher because we're still in an inflationary, recessionary environment, but we haven't completely gotten ourselves out of it. But the markets are still resilient and are still showing some strength. Now, lastly, looking at Bitcoin, breaking that 23,000 to 21,800 and showing some weakness here. Now, it is showing some weakness at this area, and if it does break 21,600, then I would say it's going to continue going lower, but may not. Okay, it still has these gains. The sell-off is not massive with massive amount of volume, so it could still bounce off of this area. So keep that in mind going into today's session. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day.